This is the Authentic Sex Podcast, real life conversations about sex, pleasure, and relationships. I'm your host, Juliet Allen. Welcome to Season 8 of the Authentic Sex Podcast. Wow, I can't believe how time flies. 8 seasons. It's incredible. My name is Juliet. I am a sexologist and a sex and relationship coach. And I am so delighted to bring season 8 to your ears today. It has been a long time coming, pardon the pun. I have had a huge break from producing the podcast. We have had monthly episodes running, but monthly just feels like too long between episodes. I used to do weekly episodes when I first began, and in the last 3 years I have been making babies and deep in motherhood, and I've had a huge break. But this season I am back. We have weekly episodes for you that begin today and will run every week for at least 12 weeks. So 12 weeks of episodes, 3 months in your listening ears every week. I'm so excited. We have so many awesome guests on this season. Today's episode is juicy. The rest of the season, we have one episode about relationship red flags, which is super interesting and really important. We are talking about all sorts of topics, building body confidence, blowjobs, of course. How could I not have blowjobs in any season of Authentic Sex? We're talking about polyamory versus monogamy, gut health, how it impacts our sexual health, and thrush. I know, thrush. We're talking about it. We're going there because so many women experience it, and I want to help thousands of women get rid of their thrush so they can experience better sex. I have done, I'm doing Q&As. We're talking about hiring a male sex worker, swingers, spanking, sex between women. Oh my God, so much stuff. Like, that's just the tip of it. So lots to look forward to each week. What I recommend is, if you are a big fan or potentially a new listener and you love this episode, jump on wherever you're listening. You know, it could be Apple or Spotify or whatever platform, and go and subscribe or hit follow, because then what that means is that you'll get notified when a new episode is published each week. And if your platform allows for a bit of a review, I would love that, because that helps these episodes get out to more listeners. So a bit about where I've been and what I've been doing. I thought I'd do like a catch up with Juliet before this episode. We get into the juiciness with Stacey O. By the way, you're in for a treat with this episode. Stacey and I really go there with awkward sex problems. Like, we don't hold back, and we talk about awkward sexual experiences. We talk about masturbation dogma. We talk about casual sex. We go there. So you're in for a treat. Before we go there, though, I just wanted to catch you up on like what the hell has been happening in my life. You know, I share about it on Instagram a bit. I had my son, my first beautiful, angel of a son in 2021. And then in 2022, I fell pregnant again. And then in 2023, I gave birth to my second daughter. And it has been, it's been a wild ride. It has been a wild ride. That's all I can say. I have been a mum since I was 23. That's when my first daughter was born. I am now 41. And all these years later, I've had my first son and second daughter. And, you know, it's been such a different experience parenting with such a big age gap between babies. And, you know, parenting at age 23 is very different to parenting in your 40s, right? So I'm absolutely loving it. I'm just loving it. I feel so on purpose as a mother, and it's also a lot, like I have found in particular the last year since our daughter was born, I found it's been a challenge. And, dare I say, it's been a real challenge for Nick and I actually. And, we have worked hard to keep our relationship strong and to stay connected through what I would say has been the most challenging time in our relationship, in our 7th year. So I've really deliberately been focusing on my family, and that's why I haven't been recording so many episodes. But I've felt my energy build, and my creative energy is just buzzing, and that's why I thought, okay, season 8 is incoming. I could feel season 8 brewing. It's like I was pregnant with season 8 for a while. And actually, no, I was like, I'm going to conceive season 8. So I thought about it, then I conceived the ideas, then I was pregnant with it, and here we are giving birth to it today. So it's like another baby, a whole other season. So thank you. If you're a long-time listener, I appreciate your support and love and patience with me as I traverse life and business and, my career as a sexologist. If you are a newcomer and you haven't listened before, welcome. I'm so excited. You have 163 other episodes to explore. So there is a lot of free listening for your ears and your sex life. And I really do hope that you enjoy it. So without further ado, introducing you to episode number 164 of Authentic Sex. Today we are talking about casual sex, masturbation dogma, awkward sexual experiences, and more with my great friend, Stacey O. This episode of Authentic Sex is sponsored by the Juliet Pleasure Wand. The Juliet is a premium crystal pleasure wand designed to heighten your sexual energy, increase self-love and self-pleasure, expand your orgasmic experiences, and connect you to your true sexual essence. You can read more and purchase your own crystal wand by visiting my website, www.juliet-allen.com. Stacey O, welcome back to Authentic Sex. I'm so excited for this conversation. It is guaranteed juice, guaranteed lols. Thanks for saying yes.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here and, third time lucky.
I know. So exciting. For those who are listening who just fall in love with Stace like I have, I will pop the other 2 episodes that she featured on in the show notes. So if you love Stace, then you can, find all the details to listen to the other episodes. Let's just dive straight on in. Hey, tell me a bit about you. You are, okay, actually I will. You and I met when you actually were a client of mine, and then you and your ex-husband came to one of our workshops. I remember it very clearly, and we hit it off. And then you weren't a client anymore, so I was like, cool, now I can be friends with this chick. So we are friends. Have you got anything to add to the love story?
What I would add to the love story is I was like an avid listener of your podcast for like a long time prior to seeing you one-on-one, and it was like a very pivotal moment in my transition from being a prude to a non-prude. And I was like, oh my God, what the fuck is a sacred slut? Like, I couldn't possibly.
I love
and
that.
And now I'm a sex coach, so
yeah. Wow.
So
anything is possible. From prude to curious sacred slut to sex coach. Welcome to Stacey O. So you actually are now a certified intimacy and relationship coach. You also have your own podcast called Finger Food.
Correct.
Love the name. And you are a culinary artist. I love that title too. What a good combo. Food, sex, intimacy.
That's it.
It's music
Life's
to my
greatest
ears.
pleasures. Yeah. I'm in the pleasure game,
Yeah. I love it. You are. So I've brought you on today to chat about, well, we've got a few things lined up that I'm curious to hear your thoughts on and your experiences on. And I love that you're open and you're honest. And yeah, I love that about you. You just moved. You're a single woman. You just
Single woman.
When I first met you, you were married. Now you're a single woman.
Yes.
And
Correct.
you just moved from Auckland in New Zealand to the big old smoke of London. I love London.
Yes.
I love it. Did you know we used to live, actually not we, I used to live there.
Yes. You told me that you used to live here. And
yeah, that's right. I was telling
East
you
London?
about my sexual antics over there. Where did I live?
Yeah.
I lived in a few places, but I first house sat in Wimbledon with all the poshos.
Wow.
Lovely house that I house sat there. And then I moved to Shepherd's Bush, baby, with all the other Australians.
Baby.
Shabu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was such a good time. That was just such a fun time of my life. And then Millie was conceived there in the middle of the antics. And then me and her dad, we moved back to Australia and had her.
Wow.
So, yeah. Anyhow, let's get into it. So you just moved there. Why did you move? Tell me all, because this is news to me, even though you're a friend.
Yes. Well, it was rather spontaneous, I guess. So, as you shared, I was once married, then I got divorced and was living in London for the duration of my 20s. I'm a UK, I've got a UK passport. My mum was born in Scotland. So lived in London for the duration of my 20s. Then we left, my ex-husband and I, and then I went back to New Zealand for 5 years and have been simultaneously healing, retraining in this industry, and just taking a little breather and just basically living a bit of a retired life in New Zealand for 5 years, hanging out with my grandma. And then
what made you move?
So I went to Hong Kong at the end of last year, and I just got this I just got the sensation in my body where I was like, fuck, this feels good to be have this anonymity in a giant city where I could literally just be anyone that I wanted to be and do anything that I wanted to do. And it was just like a melting pot of different people and cultures. And I just got inspired and I just felt something. My soul was ignited and I was like, I need to get out there with the people and live my life. And I've got a lot more there's a lot more creativity to express. There's a lot more projects to create. And also there's a way hotter, sexier, bigger dating pool.
Absolutely.
Abroad. I've dated everyone in Auckland now and it's getting awkward.
Did you actually bump into your auntie once when you were on a first date? Or was that just
honestly, you bump into every fucking Tom, Dick and Harry and it's so awkward and uncomfortable and it's a real cock block for me. I'll be having a wine at a cute little wine bar and you'll bump into Justin that you knew from primary school when you were 5 years old, or Auntie Barbara is on her morning stroll, or it's just not sexy or mysterious, or I just feel this contraction in my body, and or I felt this contraction in my body being in my hometown, which is small, especially in the area that I hang out in, and it was a real fucking cock block for me, and I just thought, get me out of here.
Yep. And so now you find yourself in. So off you popped. Where are you living in London?
Okay, so I'm currently living in a little one-beddy apartment in Victoria Park, which is in East London.
Oh, nice.
Which is really cute. So there's a beautiful big park outside my house, and then in 1 month's time, I move on to a houseboat. Would you believe it?
Oh my God. The houseboat. Yes. You sent me that video and then I was like, you're kidding, you're going to live on a houseboat. You are living on it by yourself?
by myself. I know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So since I lived here, London house prices are like have skyrocketed. Like what I was paying in rent 5 years ago versus what it is now is like insane. And to live on your own in an apartment is like right now where I'm living, I'm subletting it, and like it's just extortionate, you know? And so in order to, like, the woman that owns this house owns the houseboat, and she was like, Stacey, just FYI, I've got a houseboat that you could live on. I mean, it's still fucking expensive, but like it's like a really fun, romantic, like adventure that I didn't even know I needed.
Imagine the dating app bio. I live on a houseboat in the Thames or whatever the fuck it's called. I don't even know. Is that the thing? Come play in my houseboat.
Come play in my houseboat.
Pardon the pun. Come play in my houseboat.
Right?
Okay. This is exciting. Okay, let's get into it.
Exciting.
So you're single, ready to mingle. Watch out.
Correct.
Watch out. What do you call them? The canals. The canals better watch out. That boat's going to be rocking. Let's talk about casual sex. Are you doing the whole casual sex thing, or are you more so looking for like strictly like your forever guy, quote unquote, or girl, woman? What are you looking?
Really great question.
Yeah. Where are we at?
Yeah. Where are we at? Okay, so I spontaneously came here, and then with the intention to like be open to dating and also like having fun at the same time, but ultimately my like deepest desires and longings are to be in like deeply connected, committed partnership, and to make babies and do all the things. However, London is instantly the funnest thing of all time, and so I was like, let's just allow ourselves to like have some fun for a little bit before we get too thorough. So
yes, good.
So and yes, and it's felt actually really, really, really right to do that. And as soon as I got here, there was an old flame that was instantly like, let's hang out. And so since I have arrived, I would probably call it casual sex or like open relating or whatever you want to call it. And honestly, it's been a fucking dream. Like, it's just like this feeling of there's no strings attached. We've just been like frolicking around London like little tourists, like fucking up a storm, like
nature
going
fucks?
on these little dates.
Like, how do you do nature fucks? Are you doing nature fucks?
Well, there's not a lot of nature in London. Like,
and the parks are
just riddled with humans.
But like, I was going to say, those parks are so busy. Like, everyone's just like in the park in London because there's nowhere else to hang out. It's not like there's a beach or a river. Yeah, okay, cool.
No.
Well, I was going to say,
No.
congrats. That's really adventurous. What about alleyways?
Okay, we haven't been fucking outdoors, but thank you for the inspiration. We have been like pashing up and it's doing the romantic things of like, you know, pashing in restaurants and not really worrying about, you know, the like PDA is strong, which to be honest feels good because I think I've been a bit stifled in that area. Because I'm like, oh no, someone will see me. Whereas I'm like so free and liberated here. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. No one's going to see me. And then also there's not the awkward thing of if I do go on another date with other people, which I have done, I'm not like, oh, I'm going to bump into him even though we have communicated that we are seeing other people.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. So let's go into like for people listening who are interested in casual sex, who are potentially they're single or they are in an open relationship, whatever the situation may be, and their ears have pricked up and they're like, oh, this sounds like fun. I want to be able to have casual sex without the emotional ties. And I want, I know, it's a bit of a joke, that one. But anyway, we'll go there. And I want to be able to have sex, casual sex with multiple people at the same time. How, and I can obviously put my 2 bobs worth in here,
Yeah.
But what would you suggest when someone says, I want to be able to have casual sex without the emotional ties? Let's go there first.
Yeah. So everybody's
possible?
body. Okay, I think everybody's different and have varying levels of emotional attachment based on whatever their background is. For me, it's not possible to not get like at least slightly emotionally attached. I think, and as obviously intimacy deepens and you know you go deeper and deeper physically with someone, I find it like incredibly difficult to not then deepen that emotional connection. What I would say is it's been even interesting in this particular dynamic whereby at the beginning, I've really tried to keep it like hot, sexy, fun. Like we don't need to talk about.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
we all
have that intention at the beginning, right? Like this is so good. Like it's so casual.
It's honestly so casual. And then as soon as it like I don't know, something happens, you get sick, you get your period, you're like, what the fuck? Like, it's like instantly.
Who the fuck is that woman commenting on his Instagram? Who the fuck is that? Why did he take a day to text back to me? What's going on?
That's it. Like,
why didn't he put a kiss on the end? That's weird. Yep, can relate.
Yes, and also like he's just doing exactly consistently what he's been doing, but what's changed is your emotional needs and I should say my sensitivity, and so it's like all hell breaks loose internally. So I would say it's definitely been a journey, and actually, to be honest, what I've now realized, I've come through a little bit of like a pimple pop situation in the last couple of weeks whereby I have been using my voice more, using the tools that I teach, practicing what I preach a little bit more, which felt much better, which we've talked about this on another podcast, but our BDSM is like a really fucking amazing tool, like talking about your relationship status, boundaries, desires, sexual health, meaning, and aftercare. You can listen to that in the podcast that we've previously recorded.
But it's also okay to touch on that because, you know, I think it's important if you're sharing about your casual sex ventures, that we can teach others how they, you know, what you're doing and what I would do if I was having casual sex. Because rewinding, like the reason what I believe is the reason why we get emotionally attached is because we're humans, number one.
Yes.
And humans in general don't just fuck like rabbits and walk away. Like we actually have these emotions. It's normal and it's natural to feel tied to someone when we've had sex with them, because our consciousness kind of merges energetically, and it's what happens. And as women, you know, the positive pole in our body is our heart center. So like we open our heart, that opens our legs, ideally. We fuck. And then we're like, but I just wanted to have casual sex, and now I'm like, for example, worried that he hasn't texted, or upset that he doesn't want to hang out again, or whatever. And so I think, you know, it is important that we speak about the I always get the
RBDSMA.
Yeah, because
acronym.
That's, if people can learn that, then it just helps people who are having casual sex to get really clear on boundaries, expectations, all the things. And don't have casual sex if you don't want to get, even if you don't want to get emotionally involved in some way.
Yeah, totally. And I also think it's okay to share where you're at emotionally. When you're in a casual sex dynamic, it depends on that particular relationship and what that looks like, and you craft that for yourself. But I think ultimately, like, always just being honest and communicating where you're at without like emotionally vomiting onto someone, I think is really important. So it's like, you can share your vulnerable heart's truth without, going into your deepest, darkest daddy issues with someone. You can say what's on your heart without going into the darkest corners.
When I was 14, my dad left us and I've got this abandonment issue, and you're just like, okay, you're really going to lose them if that's what you're saying on the first day.
You're gone. Exactly. Whereas like being honest about like, oh, I'm noticing this is like feeling a little bit sticky for me, and maybe we could have a conversation and just check in and see where we're at. And I find that just advocating for your needs and your boundaries and desires and all of that usually leads somewhere. And in my experience, it either leads to the end of that casual dynamic, or it leads to like a deepening
something
or
blossoming.
Something blossoming, yeah. So,
or a friendship or whatever.
Or a friendship, or it just keeps the respect and like kindness between the dynamic.
Absolutely.
So I'd say communicate. And to be honest, as I say communicate, I'm like, fuck, this is one of the hardest things for me. And the reason why I like teach it is because it's been one of the hardest things for me in my entire relating life, is like using my voice and standing up for like my own needs. And so it's a constant practice and a constant journey. And in some dynamics it's easy, and others it's a little bit harder. It may be, more feelings on the line, or
So with that acronym, it's called an acronym, right? We spoke about that in a previous podcast. So I will link that in the show notes. So if you're listening, you're single, you're interested in learning more about how to optimize casual sex, let's call it optimize, and safeguard yourself, go to the show notes on my website, juliet-allen.com, and you will find this in the podcast tab, this episode, and then you'll find the episode that we talk about that. And you can learn more. I think that's what we can do to optimize our time today rather than repeat it.
Beautiful.
The other thing that came up for me just then was communicating about aftercare, and like, even if it's casual sex, knowing that we are still allowed to say, hey, like, my expectation is, like, if I'm going to sleep with you tonight, I completely understand this is a casual setup. That's what I'm looking for. I know that's what you're looking for. You've said you want no strings attached. I understand that. However, what I need if I'm going to be intimate with you in any way, shape or form is that and then you request what you need to feel safe, to open, to feel respected and loved. So for me, it would be like, I need you to not just get up and fuck off afterwards. I still need cuddles. I still want to have a cup of tea with you, or I'm not even into tea, so why would I say that? I still want to like, have a shower with you and grab something. Yeah, have some chocky or like grab something to eat. I still would love you to stay, whatever it is. Check in with me. If you need to leave the same day, I'd love a check-in text the next day. Like things like that. Can you provide that for me? Or is that because what people do is they think,
totally,
okay, I can do this casual sex thing. They have sex. The guy or the chick just up and leave because they're like, yay, she said yes to sex. She even said, I'm cool with casual sex. Check you later. That's it. And then
and then you're left feeling abandoned, or because you haven't communicated what it is that you really need. And I honestly think the aftercare part is probably the most foundational part of casual sex, because it enables the casual sex to keep on being hot, sexy and fun, because you're like, I feel safe with this person. They've shown up for me in a way that is exactly what I've shared and need for this particular dynamic. And I think like and also like I think it's totally valid to ask for like the snuggliest of snuggles afterwards, like food in the morning or afterwards, and also a check-in text as soon as they leave, or that day or whatever, just to acknowledge your time together. I think there's something really special about that. And that's definitely what I advocate for in all of my casual sex encounters.
Yeah, and rewinding, it comes down to being aware that who we choose, like it's important that we choose to have sex with people who still respect us and have love for us. It doesn't mean like they're in love. It doesn't mean, but still have,
Totally.
respect for themselves, number one, because that leads to respect for others. People who can communicate clearly, or who at least are open to communicating about their needs and listening to your own needs. And when you meet really decent people like that, let's call them decent people, then those people are open to having the conversation about aftercare. And it may surprise them if they've never had someone say, hey, this is what I need. But guaranteed, if they're a good person, they will respect you so much more for having that conversation. And they will leave the situation feeling so inspired. And then that impacts their future lovers. And it's kind of a knock-on effect in the world. So
totally.
Yeah.
And also like, fuck yes. And also I feel like we don't even want to be having sex with people that we can't have those conversations with, because otherwise it's what's the point?
Fuck dead shits.
Yeah. And also one other thing that I would add to that, exactly. One other thing I would say to that is like, I've been pleasantly surprised. I've projected what I think someone is onto them before that I've given them the opportunity to actually reveal themselves and their emotional intelligence. And actually I've been quite quick to judge in casual sex encounters, being like, oh, that person's hot, but they're probably going to be a fucking meathead, or like they're not going to be able to have this like deep conversation with me. And actually time and time again, I have been so pleasantly surprised with the willingness and openness of these beautiful individuals. So
I love that. I love hearing that.
Go for it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you self-pleasuring too as a single woman? Like how frequently?
Yes.
Give us the deets.
How frequently? Okay. So my self-pleasure practice is actually at a real all-time high at the moment, which is great to share, because I was going through a bit of a drought in this last few years whilst I was doing my studies. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I know Emily Nagoski talks about this when she was writing Come As You Are. She's like, I was just not having sex in my relationship the whole time I was writing that book. And I felt exactly the same. Like it was almost like a repulsion towards sex or intimacy whilst I was studying.
Training to be
because there was just it's just like all day, every day.
It's deep saturation. You're like saturated in a topic, and for me, desensitized by all the topics. And I've definitely experienced that, where I'm like, no. I do not want to do any of that. Yeah, so I get it.
Get the dildo fuck away from me.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, so you went through a phase of that, but now you're back in the swing of self-love by the sounds.
I'm very much back in the swing of self-love. It has changed dramatically for me over the last, I would say honestly 10 weeks in terms of I've been seeing this woman. So as part of my course, there's a really epic major. So my course was sex, love, relationship coaching. And within it, there's like these like incredible majors that you can do. You can specialize in tantra. You can specialize in JDX. You can specialize in like men's sexuality, female sexuality, a variety of things. Anyway, one of the majors, female sexuality. I am currently, there's a whole bunch of people doing my course, but I'm receiving coaching within that major from one of the women in my course. And within this journey that we've gone on together, I've discovered actually how much my self-pleasure journey has kind of pendulum swing from me not ever having had an orgasm to never even using a vibrator up until I was like 26. And then being like, oh my God, I had my first orgasm. I know what it's like to feel.
So you were 26 when you had your first orgasm, just confirming that's what you said.
Correct.
That's
correct.
Good to hear, because so many women have not had an orgasm, and cool. Okay, yeah. And then
totally.
so you found
I literally did. I literally didn't think it was possible to have an orgasm. And then
Is that
I
when
finally
you renamed
got
yourself Stacey O?
around about that time, yes.
Sorry, I had to. What a stupid joke. Hmm.
Oh, it took me a while to really embrace that name, actually. And so then I had my first big O, and I thought, holy shit, this is what all the fuss is about. This is amazing. It was with a rabbit vibrator that my friend recommended to me, and I was like, shit, this is amazing. And then so I went on like a bit of a tangent with, you know, me and my vibe for a while. And then I got quite deep into the like sacred sexuality tantra world, and then I was like, oh, you know, we must get rid of all you know, vibrators or anything that's remotely like a quick fuck or anything that's not deeply sacred and and spiritual, and that, and what I've realized now is that the dogma around like spiritual sex actually instilled quite a bit of shame within me as well around pleasure. And it's only now that I'm really kind of coming full circle from the pendulum swinging of like not having an orgasm to like deep tantric sex. And now I'm kind of like, pleasure is pleasure, and however you are able to attain that within yourself, whatever feels good, whether it's like listening to a dipsy audio porn audio and getting off because you need, you know, psychological kink to get it going. If it's that you need really beautiful, like deeply connected sacred time where you light candles and you get out your wands and you know, you like deeply connect to yourself. Beautiful. Like if it's that you have 2 seconds and you just want to rub one out in the shower and whatever that is, like stunning. It's pleasure and it's beautiful, and actually it should be celebrated, especially if that's been a journey for you and not having an orgasm for your whole life. And then, you know, like then being able to experience orgasmic pleasure, like celebrate that. And obviously there's limits and there's, you know, addiction, and we can get addicted to our vibrators and we can get addicted to a certain like stream of self-pleasuring. And, you know, like I'm not condoning that, but I'm also like, what I am condoning is a variety of like mixing up your pleasure. And actually, if it is that you just want to rub one out, just fucking rub one out, because go you're having an orgasm.
Yeah.
Better than nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate to that. I mean, I have some thoughts on vibrators. You probably know what they are, but I can relate to exactly your journey. The rabbit was my first vibrator. That's what gave me my first orgasms. It was pink. It was creepy, weird pink rabbit. Yeah. Little ticklers.
Yeah. Was it see-through?
Yep.
Like real 90s?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wish I had a photo of that. And then so I went hard and fast with that. And then I, you know, later on found Tantra, and then I went into that world. And then I was like, oh, I can't fantasize. I can't do anything. Like it has to be deeply sacred and spiritual. And now I feel like I've found this in-between sweet spot between honoring my body and making it a ritual, but not having to every time light candles and incense and have, you know, the fucking beautiful music playing. It can just be a quick fuck with myself. And that doesn't equal a lesser than orgasm. And in fact, what my experience has been is when I explored Tantra and really went into that world, my orgasms and my experiences of them expanded exponentially. And that has been, I am now still able to have really epic orgasms while having the quick sex or the quick fuck or touching my clit. So it was so, and I found this sweet spot.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. So I relate.
I have to interrupt this episode to let you know that today is sponsored by Pleasure School. Pleasure School is a monthly membership where together we study intimacy, conscious connections, and how to embody our true sexual essence. Every month, students of Pleasure School access members-only educational content across a wide range of formats, including written, audio, video, and guided home study. Pleasure School is led by myself, and I'm also joined by other teachers who are pioneering in the fields of sexuality, relationships, and holistic health. This is your chance to join a unique online school like no other in the world. Learn more and join Pleasure School at www.juliet-allen.com. That's JULIET-ALLEN.com.
So it's important that we don't shame ourselves. And I got slammed recently. Like, I did this Instagram post about vibrators. Like, I don't like vibrators. I don't use them anymore. And I'm not a sexologist who says don't use them. I think used in every now and then, perfect. But what I don't love is when someone that's all that they're completely addicted to the vibrator. People come to me because they want more orgasmic expansion in their life. They want different ways of experiencing orgasm. So that, that's one way to experience more. But I did this post and I knew it was going to ruffle feathers. And a few women who don't even follow me and who sell vibrators clued onto it and, jumped on and had their little 2 bobs worth. And I was like, see ya, blockety block block, because I am not up for abuse. I'm not up for debate about this. Yeah, I am so ruthless. I'm like, you know what? I don't have the energy and I don't want to prioritize debating with women online who I don't know, who, if they saw me in real life in the street, absolutely would not come up to me and have the conversation, but have the audacity to, it's not question me. They go beyond that and they're just assholes. And I'm like, you be an asshole, you get blocked.
Yeah.
And I get on with my day with a smile on my face. So
beautiful.
Anyway, that topic always ruffles feathers, but and I've kind of gone off on a tangent, but also I needed to name that, like, that is an opinion of mine. So
beautiful. And I think that's great. And it's exactly that. It's like it's whatever's right for us in our own personal experience. And like for you, vibrators aren't what you condone or personally use yourself. For me, they definitely have been a fundamental tool on my journey to actually having an orgasm.
They have for me
so
too.
Much. Yeah. And so I can see so much power in them. And I also can see how only using them and not experiencing a variety of different pleasure can be detrimental to expansion of your sexuality if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, if that's what you're looking for, you're right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about let's go into some awkward sex stuff, because up until now on Authentic Sex, there haven't been many conversations about awkward stuff. I've spoken so much about pleasure, orgasm, confidence, great relationships. But I noticed when I, looked back over the seasons when preparing to produce this season, there's not much about the awkward shit, literally. So you are the perfect person to speak to, because this is stuff that we joke about. This is stuff that I know I could voice message you about on WhatsApp and would have a good laugh about it. So, I'm just kind of like, let's go there publicly to millions of people. Why not?
Oh my God. Okay.
So where do we start? What's some awkward confessions? Like, do you have any, what are your top 3 awkwards? And then I'm happy to share mine to a certain extent.
Oh my God, my top 3 awkwards. Okay.
Here we go. You're laughing. This is going to be good.
I'm just like, I can't go straight in with my top one.
Okay, we're going to ease it.
We need to warm up to it. Like, I feel like we like to start with, and And it's also interesting because, all right. So
Smells,
things that are
farts.
coming, farts, blood, like sexual situations such as thrush.
Yeah.
The main one that's really coming to me is, and I'm like, am I going to publicly reveal this? Is hemorrhoids actually? And I think
we
it's
should have drum
important to
rolled
talk
that.
about.
We should have drum rolled that. Maybe I'll get my editor to like boom, hemorrhoids.
Hemorrhoids, everybody. They are.
No, let's go
Why
there. Let's go
so
there.
embarrassing. Why are they so? It's because the sphincter feels the most taboo of areas to discuss, doesn't it?
It does, and there's a lot of
And-
shame around that area of our body because we're brought up with the belief that it's dirty, that it smells, that poo,
Correct.
don't touch your bum, don't touch the poo,
Correct.
all the things. And so anything related to it, it's very common for us to have shame around it. And then talking about it to a lot of people. Look, I like, let's go there because I have birthed 3 children, and many, many, many women who have birthed a child out of their vagina naturally, but also not naturally, have had hemorrhoids because the pressure on the anus when you're, pushing a baby out of your vagina is so intense that it's actually just super normal to have hemorrhoids after childbirth.
Totally. And mine, obviously, I haven't given birth to a child, but I have had them before, and they've been fully stress related. Like my body's reaction to stress has been like, now you've got external hemorrhoids. And I honestly, when I first saw them, for the first time, I thought, what the fuck?
Did you get a mirror? Did you have a mirror?
Of course I did. I was like, first I was like just touching myself, and then I was like, okay, what is
the
this?
Fuck is that?
A giant bubble on the outside of my
And so did you Google it? Did you go to a doctor? Did you call a friend?
Googled it, went to the doctor, phoned a friend. Like I did every possible thing I could. And then I noticed that it was like a thing of like, I'm feeling really stressed out. This is there. And then as soon as I wasn't, or my nervous system was relaxed or whatever, that they would go away or retract. But that little skin tags are left from if you have external hemorrhoids, like on the outside of your sphincter. So I've got like a little. I can't believe I'm revealing this on your podcast. I don't know if
I love it.
Fucking vulnerability hangover. This is sickening.
We can stop right now. We can press the eject button, and we can leave people hanging, literally hanging like a skin tag.
But I think what I've realized is I'm so attached to the aesthetics of my sphincter,
of course,
my asshole, or like that entire region. That although it's like tiny, and I've shown friends, I'm like, okay, just tell me. Like they're like, hey, I have that on my asshole too, or like, oh, I didn't even realize that's from here. And it's like a thing that's not discussed.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? That looks really normal. And I've gone to the doctor. They're like, there's literally like nothing wrong with you. Like, and when she said, you can just push them in, I'm like, sorry.
My midwife said that to me. She, after Sol was born, I had some hemorrhoids, totally normal. So I wasn't too stressed because childbirth, I'm like, okay, weird stuff happens. It's okay. But I said to her, what the fuck do I do? And she goes, I said, no, what do I do if I have anal sex? And she said, just pop them back in, sweetie. Just pop them back in. I remember looking at her, and I was like, fuck off. What do you mean pop them back in? Like what? You just pop them back up your a-hole and just then put a dick inside you. I was like, I don't know about this. I just, it was quite a learning curve for me because I didn't have them after the birth of Millie, but after the birth of Sol, I did. But, I got this cream and that seemed to help. But so what do you do if you notice that there's hemorrhoids, because like I know we're laughing and we're like, fuck, this is full on, we're talking about this, but also like it is really normal. It is it's like a bodily function, and I really want to say that, because I know a lot of women will be listening and be like, oh my God, I've had hemorrhoids, I haven't spoken to anyone about that, or that's what that is that I've had so much shame about but haven't wanted to ask about, or you know, whatever. Like I want to normalize it.
Totally.
What do you do? Like I had a cream after childbirth and I just wait. It's just the waiting game, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, they're gone.
Yeah. Totally.
You can
Honestly,
still have
for
anal.
me, it's like, yes, you can still have anal. You can do all the things. I mean, there's so many things you can do. Like, obviously, it can be a physical reason why you have them. Maybe, you know, like you're not hydrating enough, or there's not enough fiber in your diet, or all the things. Like that's what the doctor would say to you. Whereas I know the life that I lead, I'm like a fucking hydrator. I know my diet is like, I'm pretty like
You're not constipated.
well-being. I'm not constipated, but the stress is what does it within my body. So just like regulating my nervous system in all the ways I can, using creams. Like there's creams you can get from the doctor, there's natural creams you can get from a naturopath, all the things. Actually, what I've realized is like a beautiful practice to do is just like connect to that part of myself with the cream. So like getting a mirror, actually taking the time to be like, I love you.
Yeah,
rather
I
than
love
like,
you,
oh
asshole.
dear God, like what a shameful thing. It's like forming relationship to my sphincter and like spending time with her and like connecting. And I would say, obviously I don't have all the time in the world, so I'm not doing that every day, but if they're there, then yeah, that's when I would do it. And yeah, and I would say I think a lot of it is just like the acceptance piece and the connected piece. And I also think a lot of it is like root chakra based stuff as well, like energetic stuff.
Absolutely. Really good that you mentioned that. Yeah. What about like queefing? I hate that word.
Oh my God.
I really don't like that word. I don't like that word. I don't know why. It's like, okay, so when someone invented English, they went, okay, cool. So we've got to name that fart sound that comes out of a vagina. What should we name that? Hang on a minute. This is God talking, by the way. I know. Let's think of something really weird, like a sound. I know, queefing. Queefing. It's like, who made that up?
Oh my God, it's so strange, isn't it?
It's so strange. It's like, oh, I queefed. It's so bad. Anyway, have you ever queefed?
Absolutely, I've queefed. God, I've done like, I feel like some of my most embarrassing moments have been within the bedroom. Like I'm like so many embarrassing moments, but yeah, I've totally queefed. It's so awkward because it's usually at like a really climactic moment because you've been going like so hard or like
in some weird position where there's a lot of air being pushed into the vagina, and it's hot and horny. Like you're right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it can sound like a fart. And so if you're not with someone like who you're in a like long-term relationship with where you kind of have a laugh and all that, then you can be like,
my gosh,
that wasn't a fart. That wasn't a fart. It wasn't a fart.
The shame. The heat that just comes through your body and like me. It's
absolutely
such a visceral experience of like nothing to see here, nothing to see here.
Nothing to see, not a fart. But tell me about how you've had this really strange kind of, you know what I'm about to say. You know it.
Yeah. So it's interesting that I have actually attracted so my ex-husband and actually someone that I've dated afterwards, they've had anosmia.
What is
and not that?
So explain what that is. Explain what that is.
Anosmia is when you can't smell. It's where you can't smell.
That's so weird. So can they taste? Because isn't smell
they can taste. Yeah, they
Wow.
can taste. Yeah.
But can't
It's so interesting. I've got 3 people that are like really close to me in my life that have anosmia, which is
Wow.
bizarre because it's very random and rare. But so farting has not actually really been an issue unless it's like, unless there's like a noise. It's like, I can fart and it's a non-issue.
Well, you can if they have anosmia. But if they don't have anosmia, you got to watch out that you're not like in the anosmia zone with your anosmia lover. But then you've got a new lover and you forget that you're not with anosmia lover and you're like,
Oh, God.
and then you're like, oh my God, I'm not with anosmia lover. I'm not with anosmia lover.
It's true. It's
Look,
true.
Let's go back to queefing for a minute. Totally normal. I just
Okay.
want to like really like reiterate to people listening who are cringing. It is so normal.
my God.
Like it's just a bodily thing. It's like if you're pumping a dick or a cock, whatever you want to call it. I prefer cock. What do you prefer, dick or cock?
I much prefer cock.
Okay,
Yeah.
if you're pumping a cock into a vagina or a toy, or you're pumping a hand or you're popping a cock into an arsehole, whatever it is, there's air squishing in, you know, all our vaginas are shaped differently. Some are more open caves, some are closed caves. Sometimes they open more at different times of the month, whatever. And so the air that's pushed in then leaves the vagina. Somehow it sounds like a fart, but it's a fanny fart. Oh, I hate the word fanny. But it's a fanny fart. And that's what a queef is. And it's normal. So, you know, you just got to get on with it. Sex is not pretty
honestly,
sometimes. Really great sex is actually just sometimes a little bit weird sounds,
Feral.
weird smells, weird liquids.
Yeah, totally.
Weird liquids. And weird smells. Like what? So yeah.
All of that. I think really great sex brings out like the most primal, raw, wild, like ickiness for the party. Like it's a beautiful thing. It's actually something that I've really had to make peace with because as I shared at the beginning of this podcast, like I'm a Virgo. I love purity and also I've grown up in a prudish like society. And getting into my mess has been a real practice to be like, you know what, like it's okay to be in your like ickiness and your mess. And it's actually so much hotter. And even I was about to talk about like period sex as well. Like that's something that like I initially felt was like a embarrassment or something. And now I think, wow, like what a fucking deep, primal, sexy blessing. And actually like the messier, the better.
Absolutely. I was saying to you last night, I love period sex. I haven't had it for a while. I think because of this season we're in where we're just having less sex. And then when we are having sex, often I'm ovulating and I'm just really horny and we make the most of that. But which, you know, probably isn't ideal considering right now I don't want to be pregnant again. But anyway, we can go there in the voice messaging. But I love period sex. I always have because it feels so primal and so intimate. And it's a time of the month when we are so like deeply connected to our womb and that energy in there. And you just can't avoid the mess, but it's brought me so much closer to whoever I'm with, obviously Nick now for the last 7 years.
Yeah.
It just brings so much intimacy and just the blood, like I don't find it awkward. The only time that blood for me has been awkward is now I'm mindful of what I share because I'm very, very respectful of Nick in not talking about, you know, specifics, but a casual sex experience where I wasn't on my period, I didn't have my period, but afterwards I noticed blood on the sheets and I was a bit like,
oh yeah,
hang on. I was taken aback. I was like, I don't have my period. So I didn't even get to give the guy the heads up of like, oh, I'm on my period, like, you know, whatever. And it was just an awkward situation. It was a really awkward casual sex situation actually. So, but otherwise I don't find blood awkward. Have you ever had anything like that?
Yeah, I would say that's where the shame around blood stemmed from, is that when I first had sex, when I lost my virginity when I was like, I don't know how old I was, 15 or something, I basically went and slept over at the guys that I lost my virginity to's grandma's house. And I got my period whilst I stayed the night. And then in the morning, I'd woken up and there was blood like everywhere in the sheets.
Wow.
And I just remember being my 15-year-old self, like new to sex, like really wanting to like, you know, be this like sexy, fun, free gal, and then just being honestly mortified, and him being like, it's fine, but also I just remember like the deep shame around that moment. And then I think that's sort of what carried through. And I remember just conversations around with my peers at school, like they weren't, you know, there was no celebration around your bleed. It was like, oh, that's so awkward. Like you don't talk about it. Like
I've actually noticed that in the culture here with my eldest daughter, who's 18 next month, and the culture within her friends is very much like still like periods are gross, periods are annoying, you know, blah blah blah. And so even though she's grown up with me doing like blood rituals and, you know, just so open with blood, and like she came in this morning even, and she came in to say goodbye before she drove to school, and I was like bent over the cupboard with my undies half down, trying to find a tampon, so with my ass in the air, you know. And she just walks in, and she's like, hey mum, I'm gonna go to school now. She always comes and says goodbye, and it's always in a time when I'm in the bathroom anyway. And I was like, yeah babe, and I kind of pop my head up with like 2 tampons, blood dripping down, and she doesn't like I noticed she just is like, love you, and gives me a hug. And I was like, oh, it's so cool that's just so normal. Like, she doesn't bat an eyelid. However, I do notice that when she talks about her period, there's still this like, it's an inconvenience. And I honestly, I've spoken to her about this, I think it's come from the culture, you know, with her friends and friendship circles. It's a bummer that there's still like this like meh about
stigma.
Blood. Yeah. And, you know, this is a whole other episode, and I do have episodes devoted to this topic, which I will put a couple in the show notes. So if you're listening and you're like, this topic has piqued your curiosity, period sex, periods, shame around blood, look in the show notes, because I'll get a couple of links there to other episodes. So we've covered farts, a really, really another normal one. It's so embarrassing. Like, ugh. I mean, even if they have anosmia or whatever the hell it is, it's like they can still hear it. So like they can use their imagination.
No, I mean, anosmia, quaifs don't generally smell. So quaifs and farts are like totally different. Queefs?
We say queefs. You probably say quaifs. They're both horrible.
I don't know.
They're most horrible to hear.
It's all in it, isn't it? But basically, I mean, the noise is the deep embarrassment. But also, I'd like to just not be embarrassed by it, because, as we say, the rawer, the more primal, the better. And I guess it's just comfort in our bodily functions. And
it is. And, you know, it comes back to, again, like awkward stuff happens when you're having sex. So let's circle back to the important fact that it's important. This sentence isn't making sense. It's important that we learn to choose lovers / partners, whatever you want to call them, who we can laugh with and who we feel comfortable being in the awkward moments with, and who we can be like, oh my God, I just farted, I am so sorry. And then still keep going, still know that they adore you and worship you, you know, whatever. Like, if you don't care about a bit of blood on the sheets, like that's, you know, if you're contemplating sleeping with someone and you think, oh my gosh, they're going to be an absolute asshole if something awkward happens, then don't sleep with them.
Exactly. Amen.
Okay, I've got to wrap this up. I can hear
Okay.
the kids are like going a little bit feral, to put it politely, because it is dinner time and it's feeding time at the zoo, let's just say. So I need to go and tend to my children and
beautiful.
Yeah, but I have loved this chat, Stace, and I really do. I really love you, and I just think you are such a top quality woman and human. I really do. I always have. You're funny. Tick. I love a funny person. Sense of humor is on point. But you are just so kind-hearted and also very flexible, which is great for me, having you on as a guest right now and with all the kids. And you're just awesome and intelligent and sexy and all the things. And just thanks for coming on, and hopefully we can do this again soon. I vote a whole season of the Juliet and Stace shenanigans.
Not no to it. And thank you so much for those beautiful words. I feel so blessed to have been on here again and have shared this last hour with you, and I'm just honored, and I love you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Authentic Sex Podcast. If you love the show, please hit follow wherever you are listening and leave me a review. And if you really, really, really loved it, please share the podcast with your friends, family, and social media followers. Doing this together as a community, we can make an impact and support the world to feel more sexually empowered and free, and just get the word out about these free resources. If you'd like to join me for daily updates and inspiration, you can find me on Instagram, which is at Juliet, JULIET _Allen, ALLEN. And you can also head on over to my website to join any of my offerings, Pleasure School, the Intimacy Blueprint, and you can also treat yourself to the Juliet Pleasure Wand at www.juliet, JULIET, -allen, ALLEN.com.